Well, President Donald Trump came up with an ideology of cutting down interest rates for credit cards. Well, the annual charges should be around at least 10%. And that felt like a good idea, and that could likely to save Americans billions of money, one or the other. Before we go any further, I would highly recommend avoid life of surviving on credit cards and one or the other, or being under debt one or the other, because I promise you one or the other, that kind of a lifestyle doesn't survive long. It's kind of stressing, it's kind of impeaching one or the other. It's not the kind of a form of a lifestyle you like to have, because maybe you're trying to have things that you cannot afford in real time. I would highly recommend anyone who's trying to live in this life to at least live in their normal terms one or the other. Survive with the little you have, otherwise one or the other, because keeping yourself in credit, that's one of the biggest stress man can ever have. Besides having a family, because also our families do have stress us one or the other, regardless how we love them, but also having a stress of our credit card on it, that's also essential one or the other. Each household is actually having around what we'll be calling around 7,000 US dollars on average in debt. That means each household is having around a debt of 7,000 US dollars in debt. That's on average. That means can go any further beyond 7,000. You should try to understand that such a kind of a lifestyle, not really a developing lifestyle. You should also try to understand that a life of a debt, that's like stealing your future savings to be spent for today and pay tomorrow. That means one or the other, you're not really that developing one or the other. You're not really aligning yourself with the actual, what we call the actual saving or actual development. One or the other, such a kind of a form of EDP means one or two things. It means that, believe it or not, you're living in a life of in debt. I said in the beginning that I agree with Trump's ideology or policy. However, in one or the other, the timing and the time he's doing this is something I disagree with, because we should all try to understand a 20 to 22% interest, that's really high, and I really accept that. That's really actual fraud in one or the other. You know, today in the US, you can get any kind of credit card, regardless of if they're working or not working. They're gonna issue any kind of credit card as long as you have the qualification. Maybe you're a US citizen, or you in any way form you can apply for a credit card. But we should also try to understand that such a scenario means one or two things. It means that living in debt is one of the things how to steal from your future. Like you're selling your years of growth for today, and sometimes for things that are initially just consumer things. Let's break it down. Try to understand why Trump is going for this. Well, should you call it a political stand or an ideology that really work out? Well, in one or the other, try to understand that present such an ideology has to pass through Congress, which will take longer to be addressed in one or the other. However, Trump looking at the U.S. creditors, or going to with the U.S. creditors, something we should be calling small one or the other. We should also try to understand that this is an ideology that we should try to understand that it's too small. It indicates one or two things. It indicates that he's trying his level best to see that Americans are saved from biggest debts one or the other. However, one of the biggest drivers for this kind of debt, we all know well, is the U.S. inflation. And by the U.S. inflation, that's driven by the money printing that will be taking place. If you look at the U.S. debt of 38 trillion US dollars, you know where I'm going with this. Because if Trump was trying to do his level best to looking at the U.S. debt in one or the other, at the credit card debt in one or the other, or the Americans are facing one or the other, the 22%, we should also try to align it with one of the factors why Americans are borrowing today. Why are they borrowing more other than they should? Because today an average American that having savings, the number is less one or the other. Actually, most of the Americans lack what they call emergency savings. They don't have savings, let's say, for emergency medical bills or car repairs. Most of this is going to be taken by on credit one or the other. All these services are going to be connected on credit. I mean, when we speak of medical bills, those are the most expensive bills, and they're highly unpredictable. But if Trump really wants to make America great, one or the other, as he says or how he claims, I would highly say before he comes for the creditors, unless he will be looking at the U.S. debt, because that's something that highly could change America's view of the economy. that was something that highly show where the economy is heading to. However, it's like moving trees on a dead plant that is going to kill the rest of the garden, and you're just cutting off the leaves or the branches instead of moving the whole plant from the garden so that you can have a clear garden. Trump is just taking off the leaves on the top, but he's not looking at the roots, because this is a whole I would call it a weed on one or the other, weed or unwanted plant in the garden, because the US debt that's almost 125% of its GDP is something that many politicians are not ready to look at. In my videos, you always see me I will be always speaking about the US debt or any debt of any country, because all governments allocate themselves on spending the stimulus that Trump is likely to be doing. Today he's fighting the Feds to see that the Feds lowers interest rates. We saw him with the war with Jeremy Powell, and we saw that kind of an ideology showing that he wanted to see interest rates going lower, maybe a total chewy. That means zero rates in one or the other. But I want to promise you one thing: regardless to have zero rates or negative rates, that's not going to help the US economy grow. One or the other is going to impact inflation to go higher. People who are in debt are going to go getting bigger debts. Home mortgages are going to become crazy. Today, it doesn't matter either you're lowering or increasing rates, because in the short term, it will be great for the economy. But in the longer run, it's inflationary, unbreakable. As we see today, the US economy, the US debt alone, many analysts believe like it's a train that's not likely to stop in one or the other. It's a train that's not likely to be stopping today or likely to be tracking itself down one or the other. It's a parable one way or one or the other. It's like a dialogue has no stopping one or the other. If Trump really, I would say like if really wanna, because I love the idea of cracking down the credit card companies, because I believe just by cracking them down, we should try to understand that Visa alone is having a market cap of $550 billion US dollars. Mastercard is having a market cap of $402 billion US dollars. American Express having a market cap of $165 billion US dollars. Capital One having a market cap of $150 billion US dollars. These companies, I would say, are highly doing great one or the other for themselves, not for the American companies. And they're highly predictable that their market cap would grow to almost, I would say, around $15 trillion US dollars, one or the other. Today, the US debt was almost $1.1 trillion in credit card. And cracking this down is really great for the economy. But how about the government spending? How about because one of the biggest scenarios we faced today, or the biggest, as I come up and I said that one of the best exports the US does is exporting inflation. If it doesn't break down the US expenditure or how it allocates its funds on the other, trust me, they say that truth hurts in one or the other. It really does hurt. Everybody may be saying, yeah, he's doing best for the economy, but his ideologies are great, but they're also inflationary. See, the big and beautiful bill that he launched, I think in February or March, somewhere like that, it's likely to cost at least $4 to $5 trillion in the next 10 years. He will be out of office and he'll leave with such a big debt to the US economy. What I'm trying to indicate is one, that I love the ideology of ending the creditors maybe higher interest rates to 10%, and it's like better for the US citizen one or the other. But we should also try to look at the bigger picture, because trust me, cracking this down, let's say it goes down to 10%. Well, that's gonna kill smaller businesses one or the other. American small business, because today all small business survive on credit one or the other. If interest rates are cut down to 10%, well, these institutes are gonna start cutting down to who to borrow their money now, because the cost or the amount of money they earn of this kind of borrowing is gonna be low. That means they're gonna value what people they're gonna be giving loans to one or the other. They're gonna be looking to who is valid to be loaned or not. That means also we would like you to see a kind of a deflation kind of economy one or the other, or a default kind of economy one or the other. That means there will be lag on spending. People won't be able to afford buying new cars as they used to on credit, which is also understandable. Maybe it's better for someone, but it's not good for one for the economy, because motor industries or car industries won't be able to sell off their goods, because many people won't be worth buying such cars. That means there will be a gap in sales. There will be a gap, and this kind of gap in if car companies, let's say Tesla or GMC, find themselves lagging in sales, there's gonna be a rise in unemployment. From the rise of unemployment, there's gonna be what we call many businesses could find themselves shutting down. Cracking this down is really great, but we should crack it in a way that's highly reasonable. Regardless how this could be cracked down, there's gonna be real hurt. The people, believe it or not, the way the US economy is heading, it's taking the direction it's taking today, doesn't seem to be like the right road to be taken one or the other. It's not like the right atlas or the right map to be looking at. Because regardless, you try to understand, cracking down the US debt means there's going to be loss of jobs. There's going to be cracking down the US government one and the other. And this kind of scenario having wars between China and the US, I think maybe it's better to copy that one or the other, the book of China, one or the other. I mean, I don't mean it's the perfect book, but at least let's copy a few ideologies. Yes, they also have their kind of a debt, but if Trump really needs to crack down the US debt, the credit card debt for Americans, at least let him first look at the bigger picture. Otherwise, thank you for watching. Let me know what you think about this kind of a scenario. I feel like it's a better idea to drop down the debt. However, it's going to leave many businesses out. It's going to leave many people who would have done something for themselves, because not all people borrow credit just for nothing. There are people who could be for a better value. Otherwise, I would advise you to be living life of debt unless you're hoping to earn something much more bigger and be able to pay off that debt. I would highly recommend to live in your own terms, or in terms that you feel like are affordable for your life. Otherwise, thank you for watching. See you in the next one.